Okay, so you think you know the Starbucks story, right? That cozy little third place on every corner? Well, forget all that. The real story, the one you probably haven't heard, it's not some feel-good tale about coffee. It's this wild drama full of academics, a super ambitious visionary, and a last-minute betrayal that almost torched the whole thing. So let's get into it. This is how one tiny coffee bean shop had to be saved from its own founders to become the giant it is today.
I mean, just look at this transformation. On one side, you have the original vision from 1971. Burlap sacks, one employee, and they only sold beans. That's it. And on the other side, today, a global behemoth with over 38,000 stores, mobile ordering, pumpkin spice everything. So how in the world does that happen? How do you get from there to here?
To really get it, you've got to go all the way back to the beginning. So let's set the scene. The year is 1971. We're in Seattle, and the city is in a massive recession. I mean, it was so bad there was literally a famous billboard that asked, will the last person leaving Seattle turn out the lights? Seriously, it was probably the worst possible time and place to start a new business.
And the guys starting this business, they weren't exactly titans of industry. Meet the founders, an English teacher, a writer, and a history teacher. Jerry Baldwin, Gordon Boker, and Zev Siegel. These weren't guys with MBAs and a 5-year plan. Nope. They were just 3 buddies who were totally obsessed with finding a decent cup of coffee in a country that was basically drowning in terrible canned coffee grounds.
For startup capital, they just scraped together what they could. Each of them put in $1,350, and they got a $5,000 loan from the bank. That was it. That tiny little pile of cash was the seed money for what would become a multi-billion-dollar corporation. And their vision was so simple. Just sell the best possible coffee beans. No drinks, no scones, just beans.
Even the name, Starbucks, sounds so solid, right? Well, that was on purpose. They picked it from Moby Dick because they thought words starting with S just sounded powerful. And it's a good thing they did, because their runner-up name was Pequod. You know, the name of the ship that sinks and kills almost everyone in the book. Yeah, ordering a venti Pequod just doesn't quite have the same ring to it, does it?
And then there's the logo. This right here was the original. It's based on a 16th century woodcut of a siren, twin-tailed, bare-breasted, navel and all. It was meant to be alluring and mysterious, you know, as seductive as the coffee itself. It really captured that anti-corporate, coffee purist vibe they were going for. And for a whole decade, this was Starbucks, a tiny, passionate shop run by enthusiasts.
So for 10 years, Starbucks is just this cool little Seattle secret. And then, in 1982, this super ambitious salesman from Brooklyn walks through the door, and he doesn't just see a coffee shop. He sees a global empire just waiting to be unlocked. And everything was about to change.
And the way Howard Schultz finds Starbucks is kind of wild. He wasn't some coffee expert on a pilgrimage. Nope. He was selling kitchenware and noticed this weird thing in his sales data. This tiny little shop in Seattle was ordering an insane number of his company's coffee filters, more than huge department stores. He got curious, flew out to see what was going on, and the second he walked in that door, it all clicked.
A year after that, the founders actually send Schultz on a business trip to Milan. And this is where his whole world changes. He's walking around, seeing all these amazing espresso bars, and it hits him like a bolt of lightning. It's not about selling beans, it's about selling an experience. These Italian coffee bars, they were hubs for the community. They were a third place. You know, not home, that's the first place. Not work, that's the second place. It's that other spot where you can just be. He raced back to Seattle, totally convinced this was a billion-dollar idea.
So he runs back, pitches his heart out about creating this amazing American coffee bar experience. And the founders, they basically said, nope, not interested. Their whole argument was, we're roasters. We are not in the restaurant business. They were purists, through and through. So, totally crushed, Schultz quits in 1985 and starts his own coffee bar, Il Giornale. But here's the crazy part. Starbucks actually invested in his new company. It's like they were saying, we believe in you, Howard. We love your idea. Just please don't do it here.
Okay, this is where the story gets really, really juicy. The stage is set for a total showdown. By 1987, the founders are tired. They want out. They're ready to sell, which gives Schultz the one shot he's been dreaming of. But it almost turned into an absolute nightmare.
So the founders offer to sell him the entire Starbucks operation. We're talking all 6 stores, the brand name, the roasting plant, the whole shebang. The price? $3.8 million. He had just a few months to come up with the cash. The dream was finally within his grasp.
But just when he's about to make it happen, disaster strikes. While Schultz is scrambling to raise the money, one of his own investors, one of the people backing his coffee shop, goes behind his back. He secretly goes to the founders with a higher, all-cash offer to snatch the company right out from under him. Talk about a gut punch.
So just imagine you're Howard Schultz right now. You're 33 years old. You've been outbid by someone you trusted. The clock is ticking. The dream you thought was your destiny is about to be stolen away. It really looked like it was all over. Totally heartbroken, Schultz goes to his lawyer for help. And his lawyer says, you need to talk to the firm's senior partner, a guy everybody in Seattle respected, Bill Gates Sr. And yes, I mean that Bill Gates' dad. Schultz tells him the whole story. And Gates Sr. doesn't just give him legal advice. He literally stands up, takes Schultz with him, marches across the street into the rival's office, stands over the guy, all 6'7" of him, and says these exact words. And boom, just like that, the rival bidder backed down. The company belonged to Schultz. So Schultz finally has the keys to the kingdom. And he doesn't just grow the company. He basically straps a rocket to it. But what's really fascinating is that a lot of the fuel for this rocket was actually borrowed from other people. And when I say rocket, I mean it. Check out this growth. He takes over with 11 stores in 1987. By 1992, when they go public, it's 165 stores. By the year 2000, it's over 3,500. By 2007, 15,000 stores. And today, more than 38,000. The third place idea had officially taken over the world.
Now, a huge part of this growth was driven by those iconic drinks, which brings me to a little trivia question for you. The Frappuccino. You know that icy blended drink that's basically a money printing machine? Did Starbucks actually invent it?
The answer is nope, not at all. Back in 1994, Starbucks bought a rival coffee chain out in Boston called the Coffee Connection. And with that purchase, they got the rights to a slushy drink its owner had trademarked called the Frappuccino. Starbucks threw out the original recipe and made their own, but they kept that killer name. It launched nationwide in '95 and became an absolute phenomenon.
Okay, next up, the legend itself. The undisputed king of fall, the Pumpkin Spice Latte. It's more than a drink, it's a cultural icon at this point. But do you know the little secret about the original recipe that came out way back in 2003? Are you ready for this? For the first 12 years of its life, the Pumpkin Spice Latte had absolutely zero actual pumpkin in it. Zero. Zilch. Not a single drop. It was just a masterpiece of flavored sauce, spices, and pure marketing genius. And that really shows you the company's real innovation. It's not always inventing new things, but being the best in the world at packaging and scaling ideas.
But look, you don't build an empire this big and this fast without some costs. And in recent years, the company that built its whole brand on being a responsible, progressive partner has been facing a tidal wave of serious controversies that really challenge that identity. And we're talking about some really serious stuff here. Critics point to what they call one of the most aggressive anti-union campaigns in modern corporate history. That famous 100% ethical sourcing promise, it's been challenged in court with allegations of child labor on supplier farms. And there have been reports detailing these complex schemes allegedly used to avoid billions in taxes. For a brand that calls its employees partners, these accusations, they cut deep. So that's the journey, from a tiny bean shop saved by the threat of a 6'7" lawyer to a global empire built on borrowed ideas and brilliant marketing. Starbucks absolutely changed the world, but it also changed itself. Which really leads to the big question, doesn't it? Has the company that created the third place, that cozy spot for human connection, ended up losing its own soul to the speed and efficiency of the drive-thru?